Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Finance for Monday, March 17th, 2025 to order.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we're in order. So, first of all, happy St. Patrick's Day. Jonathan, at some point I would expect that hat to appear on your head, so, at least at the meeting to adjourn. Thank you for being so festive this evening. Item number 1 is receive the audit report for fiscal year 2023-2024 from Clifton Larson Allen, or CLA. Online virtually this evening is Vanessa Rosito and Brianna Camp, and they will be presenting the audit report for the town of Guilford this evening. So I'll hand it over to Vanessa and to Brianna.
Great, thank you so much. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. Am I able to share my screen?
Sure. You will be shortly.
Okay.
And we have that presentation in front of us as well, so.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Let me know when I can try.
You should have had, I made you a co-host, you didn't get a notification?
I think just try sharing.
Try it? Okay.
Try it.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's coming up.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, you can see it?
We see your screen, yes.
Awesome, thank you
Yep,
so much.
all good.
All right, great. Thank you for having us tonight. Again, my name is Vanessa Rosito. I am a principal at Clifton Larson Allen. I have with me Brianna Camp, who was the senior on the job for the audit. We had a bit of a change this year with the principal because Nicoletta McTighe was the principal to start the audit. She left the firm in October. So I took over. I am familiar with Guilford. It was my client maybe 4 years ago for a number of years. So we have the results of the audit tonight for you. So we're going to go through a PowerPoint presentation, which is just summarizing the highlights, if you will, and then obviously we can entertain questions at the end.
Great, thank you.
Okay, that's our disclaimer. So as far as the agenda tonight, I'm going to talk about the terms of the engagement. I'll go over the results, executive summary of the engagements, some high-level financial highlights. I'm going to turn it over to Brianna. She's going to go over the federal and state single audit, also the governance communication, and then I'm going to wrap it up with the upcoming GASB pronouncements over the next couple of years. As far as the terms of the engagement, we were hired to express opinions on whether the basic financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We also express an in relation to opinion on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, which is your federal single audit, and the schedule of expenditures of state financial assistance, which is your state single audit. We express an opinion on compliance related to the major federal and state programs that were tested as part of those single audits. We provide a report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, and grants. So that's the financial statement piece of it. And then a report on internal control over compliance related to major federal and state award programs. So that's internal control over the federal and state single audit. So we have issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, otherwise known as a clean opinion. This is the best opinion that you can receive. It means that everything is fairly stated in accordance with our accounting standards. We did not have any findings on internal controls over financial reporting, so we didn't have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. What we did have is a suggestion for Guilford to strengthen their controls over the reconciliation of fund balance. So a couple of years ago, the accounting for the appropriations continued in force was changed within the general ledger. So it's become a little bit convoluted, and there were issues with the reconciliation of fund balance. So we're just recommending that the town develop a monthly reconciliation process to make sure that fund balance agrees to the prior year fund balance and entries are not posted during the year. So again, nothing to be concerned about, no significant deficiency or material weakness, just a suggestion for amendment. And then I've included just some high level, couple of financial statements here. So this is your governmental activities and also your business type activities. So the governmental activities column are all the funds of the town, all the governmental funds of the town aggregated together and brought on the full accrual basis, meaning that all of the capital assets are accounted for here and all of the long-term liabilities, because you don't account for those in your funds. So just looking at the results from last year to this year, net position increased from 62.6 million to 66.7 or 8.8 million at the end of June 30th, 24. Really nothing to note that is outstanding other than just the normal paying down of some long-term debt, even though you did issue debt. The amount that you paid down was greater, and also a decrease in your net pension liability. For business type activities, really nothing great, large, I guess, if you will, to note. Net position increased slightly from 445,000 to about 600,000. And then looking at the major funds of the town, the general fund, the bonded projects fund, the high school construction fund, the miscellaneous special grants fund, and then the smaller funds, governmental funds, if you will, are aggregated together into this fifth column, non-major governmental funds. So again, just concentrating on the results from last year to this year, the general funds fund balance increased about 370,000, ending the year with 23.538 million. Bonded projects fund ended the year with negative 11.96 million of fund balance. This is very common in a capital projects or bonded projects fund to have a negative fund balance because there's spending that's going on and long-term debt will be issued in the future. So this year, for example, you had capital outlay of about $8 million and you had a bond issuance of $5 million. So I'm sure there's plans to issue more long-term debt to pay for that capital outlay. The high school construction fund had no fund balance. You went from negative 3.083 million at the beginning of the year to nothing. So I would assume that this fund has been ended or closed. The miscellaneous special grants fund balance increased about 480,000 from 287 to 766,000. And then the non-major governmental funds fund balance increased slightly, 133,000 from last year to this year. And then just some more information on the general fund. There's various categories that fund balance is sectioned into. So we have non-spendable because of prepaid expenses on the balance sheet, 240,000. We have an amount that's restricted for volunteer firefighter fund. We have a number of things where fund balance is committed, which I won't read all of them to you. And then also the assigned category. Most of the amounts in the assigned category are for encumbrances. there is the amount for carried in force, which is about a little bit over $1 million. And then the unassigned category is 14.089 million. The general fund budget the revenues came in 137,000 lower than budget, and then the expenditures came in 1.17 million lower than budget. So even though revenues came in lower than what was budgeted, you did a good job of keeping also the expenditures lower than budget. And just looking at the pension and OPEB funds, so these are the funds where you have put aside assets to pay for the liabilities of your various retirement plans. The employees pension plan, police retirement fund, public school employees pension fund, and then your other post-employment benefit fund, which is the retiree benefits. So all of the funds had a positive increase in net position from last year to this year. Employees pension increase of about 3.5 million, police retirement 1.7, public school employees 878,000, and then the OPEB fund an increase of 500,000. So all positive results from last year to this year. And just keeping on that topic, looking at the liabilities for these funds, the employee net pension liability is 5.8 million. That plan is 86.95% funded. Police net pension liability is 8 million. That plan is 77.54% funded. The school net pension liability is 5.3 million. That is 71.69% funded. And then lastly, fire net pension liability is 2.9 million. That is not funded, so you do not have any assets set aside to fund that liability. The net OPEB liability for police is 13.4 million, and that plan is 18.73% funded. All right, Brianna, I will turn it over to you and I'll advance the slides for you.
Sure. Thanks, Vanessa.
Yep.
So for the federal single audit, the town reported about 5.2 million in expenditures of federal awards, and approximately 2.79 million of that total consisted of expenditures of the COVID-19 American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds, which was tested as the one major program for the federal single audit. And we've issued also a clean, unmodified opinion on major program compliance with no findings as it pertains to compliance or internal controls. And for the state single audit, the town reported about 7.7 million of total state awards expended. The two major programs that we tested were the Local Transportation Capital Improvement Program, or LOTCIP, which the town reported about 751,000. And the second major program we tested was the Early Care and Education Grant Program, which had expenditures of about 212,000. And for the state single audit, again, we issued an unmodified opinion, a clean opinion with no findings related to compliance or internal controls. And also as part of the audit, we've provided to you our final governance communication memo, where we've given some additional information related to the audit. And we explained there were no new accounting standards, no new accounting policies implemented during the year. Also listed here on the screen are some of these significant estimates included in the financial statements, which Vanessa just went through. That includes management's estimate of the net pension liability, the net OPEB liability, as well as the insurance claims incurred but not reported, or the IBNR liability. We also encountered no disagreements with management during the engagement. Management did not consult with any other accountants. There were no difficulties encountered in performing our audit procedures. There were no corrected or uncorrected misstatements, and there were no independence issues.
Thanks, Brianna. And then wrapping it up, just to let you know about the new standards that are coming for this fiscal year and next fiscal year. So this year we have two standards to analyze. Statement 101, compensated absences. So this standard kind of increases the net, if you will, to the compensated absences that are available to employees but not paid. So maybe they are going to be taken in the next year but not necessarily paid. So the GASB is wanting the municipalities to also record a liability for these compensated absences. So what we are going to do is during the planning, if we are selected, I know the audit is out to bid, so if we are selected to be the auditors for next year, we will work with the finance department, both of the Board of Education and the town, to kind of analyze all the compensated absences that are available to the employees to see if this will have a material impact on the town. Statement 102 has to do with certain risk disclosures. These are for various, if there's an instance where there's a union that all the employees are in, then something like that would have to be disclosed into the notes. For 2026, Statement 103 is the financial reporting model improvements. So this statement has been out there for a number of years. It finally got implemented. The scope of it was much greater that they were threatening a long time ago, but they really, scaled back what they wanted the towns to report, so hopefully this won't have a large impact on your financial statements. And then Statement 104 is the disclosure of certain capital assets, and this mainly has to do when you have land that's held for sale, which I don't think Guilford has anything like that right now, but obviously we would look into that if that were the case. And that is our presentation, so I'll stop sharing and open it up to questions.
Great. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Brianna. Are there any questions regarding the audit?
I'm glad it went well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Well done, Finance Department.
And Linda.
And Linda?
And Linda.
Well, I meant, okay. Thank you for the clarification. I meant both. Finance departments, plural.
Departments.
One of the things I did note, this has come up within the last month or so, the unassigned fund balance percentage. So I did read that as of June 30th, that amount was 12.3%. It was 12.9, but I guess it was 12.3 the year before that in 22. So it went up and came back down again. So, but we're in that between 12 and 13, which is right in the middle of the 10 to 15 range. So we're right in the middle of that range, which is a good place to be. There are a lot of pages to the audit. I'm not sure how many of us looked at the numbers or had any questions, but again, a very nice job by both the Board of Education and town finance departments. And it seems like the management recommendation is simply that. It's a recommendation that every once in a while there's a recommendation to make things even better. So, but this is pretty stellar. So, very good. Okay. Anything further for CLA? Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation this evening. Very much appreciate it and your efforts with the audit for fiscal year 24. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. Bye.
All right. See if I can navigate the system here. I know that item number 2 is public forum, so that's an easy one. Public forum. Anybody wishing to address the Board of Finance in public forum? Seeing none, okay, we'll move on. Item number 3, approved minutes. We have 3 sets. We have the regular meeting minutes of February 13th, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second?
Are there any corrections or edits?
I have one on page 3, up at the top. About the the first full paragraph. It says, with regard to telephone and internet, they added some equipment to improve internet and cell phone. I think it should just add in cell phone coverage in the buildings that had some dead zones.
Okay. I'm just looking now. I had 2. Page 2, just for clarification purposes, I think it starts off as a note, Tracy, for you when you're doing the minutes, but for item number 4, it says Linda and Jennifer Baldwin. We should just clarify that, say Linda Trudeau and Jennifer Baldwin.
So they're not sisters.
Right? And then at the very, not the very end, close to the very end on page 7, this will come up a couple of times, but it's just a correction on the bond authorization request of the town under road improvements. Just should be clarified as saying 1 million. And that is all I have on that. So, anybody else? Okay, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. 3.2, budget public hearing minutes of March 4th, 2025. Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Corrections, edits, comments? I'll begin on this one. First page, just a bit of a typo on one of the names there, town officials. Last line, Rob McCool. Just a space there. Item number 2, page 2. Page 2. Third paragraph, second line, where it says there were 3 areas of funding. I have that same $1 million correction for road improvements under the bond authorization request on page 6. And further down at the bottom of page 6, the amount where it says the initial $800,000 loss was offset by $550,000. Just a 0 needs to be added there.
I didn't have anything.
Oh, I do have one more. Page 8. Last paragraph, right before item number 2, where it indicated, paragraph starts, Mr. Ailes recapped the budgets, and then it goes on to say he did not want to discuss, it says the grand list. I believe that was, I didn't want to discuss the proposed mill rate, because I had already discussed the grand list. That is all I have. Anybody else? Okay, I'll call a question on those. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, item 3.3, budget workshop minutes of March 6, 2025. Motion?
So moved.
And second.
Any comments or corrections?
I got a correction on page 3,
Okay.
second paragraph, second sentence. 26 states have made it illegal or restricted it.
Okay.
It's actually up to 30 now, but
Okay. Why don't we stay on that page then? It's just, again, just a typo in the third paragraph, right about in the middle, where it says, when you read further, it doesn't direct them. So instead of then. On on I just want to go back real quick, just because it's the same $1 million typo on page 2, road improvements, under the town bond authorization. Anyone else?
I have one also on page 2, in the paragraph that starts, it's kind of towards the bottom, total taxable grand list. It says real estate and personal property showed an increase instead of and. And then on page 4, halfway through in the paragraph that starts, Dr. Freeman said the pond, the second full sentence, the BOE heard comments from parents, coaches, and student athletes about weight room facilities and more than any other topic. And I think that was all I had.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, item number 4, correspondence, pension committee minutes and monthly report. Anything on pension or the report?
Just a couple of things to point out. The police pension's up 10 3/4%. They're doing awfully well. And retirements are down. It's been 1 retirement in the police department. 4 were expected this year. There's been 5 retirements on the town side. There's 15 expected this year. The longer people stay in the pension funds, the better it is for the funds.
Thank you for that observation.
People like it here.
I got a question about the pension report.
Yep, go ahead.
I saw that there was a motion made that the pension committee recommend that the Board of Selectmen and Board of Education not grant a COLA for next fiscal year. Is it possible that the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Education will grant a COLA?
Say that again? Sorry.
So I noticed that there was a motion recommending that the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education not grant a COLA for the upcoming year.
There was no motion made. The Board of Selectmen did not take up the issue. We basically tabled the agenda item. We didn't have to table it. There was no motion made, and at this point, the Board of Selectmen is interested in gathering some more information from Mitch, as well as our actuaries relative to any particular impacts. Granting one today would not impact the budget that is currently before you, or will be before you after we tell you where the cuts are tonight, but it will impact the 26 budget. So at this point, the board did not take any action, so nor did it entertain a motion. So,
All right. Thank you.
You got it.
Anything else on pension or the report?
Nope.
Otherwise, we'll move on to 4.2, OPEB minutes, monthly report.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Okay, if nothing further under correspondence, prior to moving to item number 5, just wanted to note for record, Tracy, I'm sure you let Amy in. So Amy Earls, member of the Board of Finance, has joined us virtually. So I think it's 7:55. Just to make sure it's on record. Good evening, Amy. Good to see you. Okay, item number 5, review and accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education for February 2025. Linda Trudeau and Arnold Scretta. Good evening.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Same to you.
As well.
All right. So expenditures for the month of February 2025 were $5,196,134.36. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of February were 63.72%, of the budget, as compared to 61.39% in 2023-24. The items that are running higher this year than they were last year for this month are predictably, I would say, salaries, employee benefits, and also tuition. However, the items that are running lower are purchase services, supplies and materials, capital, and transportation. Just to kind of highlight some of the things that at least I found interesting on the warrant. There was a purchase of an air condenser for Adams Middle School. Numerous sort of technology and computer investments from Amazon Capital Services. I wanted to flag that there's a couple payments to vendors or outside entities that the name is a little misleading. So some of those are Cheshire Fitness Zone. That's actually occupational therapy for special ed, as well as Yale University School of Medicine. That's actually payments to Cedarhurst for special ed tuition. So I just didn't want anyone being misled with any of the names. Obviously, electricity is running higher, and I was talking to Linda about that and asking if we have to pay all the same fees that everybody else does, and yes, we do. We have to pay the public benefit fee, for example. Another good one, we've got the school finally we did take delivery of it, right? The Ford F-350 Super Cab, and that's for the maintenance and facilities crew. And that's part of the 5-year lease, so the town will own it outright after the completion of that term. But that was $82,531.90. Other than that, it's pretty, I would say, pedestrian. There's, legal fees, fuel, and transportation expenses. But that's about it.
Okay.
And so, in summary, the warrant that we were submitting, total payments detailed are $2,108,073.85. So that's the budget request.
Thank you. Questions? The Board of Education?
Really just the safety sanitation line. You've probably been filling us in as we go along, but it's one of the higher ones being over.
So this line, and I know we've talked about this in previous years, what happens is at the start of the year, Mr. Gurnham puts in purchase order requests for things that could possibly happen, so that if he needs something, the PO's already set and he can just do what he needs to do to get the work done in the buildings. So there's some that we may not need. So as we get further into the year, we start clearing them out and closing them. So that might get a little bit better. But this account's been running over for years. So we're trying to fix it starting in the next coming budget cycle, raising it up a little bit to try and cover it. A lot of these are unfunded state mandates that we have to do. So sometimes we don't know they're coming. We suddenly have to cover these expenses. So unfortunately, this account tends to run over.
So some of those encumbrance may not materialize.
Right.
They may go away.
Right.
Okay.
Before I forget, because sometimes I do, I know you also sent the tuition report
Right.
this afternoon, I believe. That's what I just opened up, so.
So it's
Yeah, go ahead.
about $22,000 better than what we reported last month, which is good. This does not include the $181,000 that we will be getting sometime April, May. I heard April, but our typical payment is May, so I'm not sure if they're going to combine them, what they're going to do, but sometime in that time period, we should be getting about $181,000. So I have not put that in this report yet. It was, when I did the report, it was still kind of up in the air as to when it was coming, so I didn't want to muddy the waters too much with it. So right now, our tuition is still in really good shape, which hopefully it'll stay that way.
And that 181 goes towards this
Yes.
budget year?
Yes.
Yep.
It closes the shortfall from what we budgeted for the excess cost reimbursement to what we actually were originally told we were getting.
I know that there were quite a few reports that were on our iPad, I wanted to say board pack, but got to get used to Diligent, which was kind of a catch-up, all the meeting minutes and public workshops, or public input hearings. So, anybody on the board has any questions regarding any of those minutes or the warrant? Arnold, thank you very much for the, a lot of times the warrants, some of those unique ones are pointed out and then we don't have to ask the question, so thank you.
You had one? I had two questions on the statement. So this may not be just for the past month, but in special services and other contracted services, it's showing year-to-date revenue. Do we have any idea what that's coming in from?
So special services is Medicaid.
Oh, okay.
So some of those services are for students that are Medicaid eligible, so we can get that.
Okay.
And the other contracted services is state reimbursement for adult education.
Oh, okay.
So they send us a portion of the payment that we have to make,
I see.
very small portion of the payment we have to make to Branford for participation in that co-op.
It probably shows up every year. I just, for whatever reason, I seem to notice it this month. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just started scanning once you asked that question. Transportation, regular buses, there's 21,000.
That's the Magnet Transportation Grant. We get that.
Yeah.
It's a portion for the students that we transport to the Educational Center for the Arts. We also transport students from other districts, and those districts waive their Magnet Transportation Grant, and we get to claim the additional students and get additional money to cover the cost of the transportation. And that's half of the payment. We will get a second half later in the year.
Great. Thank you for the clarification.
And then, and the warrants, I saw there's a high school tank replacement for about $17,000 to F&F Mechanical.
Yep.
What was that?
Chilled water expansion tank, that was for Guilford High School. It basically, when the HVAC is warming up, heating up, cooling down, I don't know if it's condensation, I'm not an HVAC guy, but it has to have somewhere to go.
I see.
And then it returns to the system, basically.
You just sounded like an HVAC.
Yeah.
So, well done.
They could use your help.
That's right.
That was how Cliff explained it to me.
Fair enough. Okay. Anything else for the Board of Education? Okay. Let's see here. All right, so I will go ahead and entertain a motion to accept the report of expenditures in February 2025 for the Board of Education in the amount of $5,196,134.36.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, recusals? Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Lynn. And number 6, review and approve the report of expenditures for town government for February 2025. Good evening, Mary Jane.
Well, thank you, Jonathan.
We can go right to revenues if you'd like.
Okay, so reporting through the end of February, 66.7% through our fiscal year. Reporting revenues of 96.8% compared to 97.8% this time last year. Just remind you that we did increase our revenue budgets, which is mainly causing that difference. Everyone is on track to meet or exceed their revenues for this year. And so I don't have anything to discuss unless you have a specific question.
I was just curious, the tax revenue was tiny bit lower, right, I think, than last year? Mm-hmm. But a tiny bit on that line. Is it something to be concerned of, or will you think that money will just come in?
Last year and this year, we are seeing a higher rate of delinquencies. I believe the difference in the percentage that you're seeing here is really based on the budget at this point. But I wouldn't be too concerned about the 0.1% at this point, although we have been seeing more delinquencies reported by the tax collector.
And building is lower than last year, but that's how we set the budget.
We increased that budget,
it.
correct, yes.
So, yeah. So that's, but it's tracking, it's pretty much tracking where it needs to be, or should be.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on revenue? Okay. Expenditures.
Similar story on the expenditure side. We are 68.8% spent through the end of February compared to 66.7% last year at this time. Most of the items that are over, as I've reported in the past, are due to timing of payments. As usual, I will just talk a little bit about the fire department. If you look in the detail of the fire department, you'll see that the building and vehicle maintenance are both tracking high this year, which is causing their percentage to be higher. On top of that, typical overtime and replacements. But when you compound that with building maintenance and vehicle maintenance, you see that percentage. I did report last month that I was going to come to you this month with a transfer for to make the debt numbers whole, but we had so much on our agenda, I just thought I'd hold off 1 month and do that next month. So next month we'll come back to take care of that. Otherwise, take questions.
Questions, expenditures. Usually it's that time of year. Everything's just kind of tracking at this point. Which is a good thing.
Right. I
It's a
consider it a good thing.
No
but I don't have a
questions are
lot of
good
things to talk to you about.
That's right. Okay, anything on the warrants? And we'll just open it up to all of them. Weekly, special.
$595, are we close to the end of seeing funds go out on that? Sorry, Linda.
I'm not quite sure where that project stands
Okay.
at this point.
I know folks are moving in 595. I was just wondering, are we near the end of that project?
So
gotta be
far,
pretty close.
facilities, technology, and people services have moved in. My office is moving in sometime in April, and then Lathrop House will go in after that. Everybody should be in there by the end of June.
Is all furniture in as well, or is that somewhat of the delay? Just curious.
All the furniture's not in. This morning at the Board of Selectmen meeting, the Board of Selectmen tabled the most recent request for about $9,000 worth of furniture and equipment that came in on a requisition, not a requisition, but a request this morning. Some of the members of the board had some questions about some of the specific line items, particularly the cost of what appeared to be minor items that did not appear to be a minor cost.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's about $9,000 that we did not approve. Cliff is going to get back to us after he has a chance to review it.
Okay. But it's not, again, it's on, the move is ongoing. I just was curious how much was still left in terms of, the construction is pretty much done and completed.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
were
just the
working out-
final requisitions and things like that that are coming in.
They were
We'll
working
probably
out
see
some of the
more.
kinks with the alarm system and the phone system and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that's why facilities and technology went in first.
Okay.
just to work out all the bugs so that we could get there and hopefully we'd be more,
Right.
operating more efficiently.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else on warrants? Medical.
And you laugh. So we have some good news on the medical side. You'll see I've made some enhancements to the report, specifically on the bottom, the fund balance projection. We recently had meetings between the Board of Education, specifically the benefits coordinator there, with our HR, myself, our consultants, and the stop-loss company to put us on track, better track to receive our stop-loss receivables. There was an issue with the portal or the emails that were going through from the Board of Ed to the stop-loss company. The data was not getting through. So they weren't getting, we were sending it, they weren't getting it, neither one of us knew the other was trying to get through. So we have cleared that up, made some improvements to the communication there. I'll now be receiving emails based on all of the requests coming through, so I'll have a better handle on how much is due in. We do have $865,000 outstanding. I have listed down at the bottom that as a receivable so that we can see an adjusted fund balance to what that number would be based on the receipt of that receivable. The 2.89 is a representation of the fund balance in months. So that $3.5 million, if you divide it by our budgeted monthly expenditure, means we currently have 2.89 months in the bank. We do look for having that around 3%, so we're not too far off, but we are recommending taking money out of this fund balance for next year and the next couple of years, obviously at a lower amount, but so we'll just have to watch that. So I'm trying to provide as much information for myself as well as for all of you so that we have as good a handle on where we might be at the end of the year.
And the percentage covered by ISLs at
56.
Almost 57.
Almost 57.
And
Highest
we're
we've seen in a-
halfway
yeah.
through. Well, a little over halfway.
Highest we've seen in a while, though, so.
Yeah, what 70% is the
Right.
number where
Yep.
it's,
And that's just through January. I didn't
Right.
have February numbers.
Right.
Mhm.
Is the 22 covered members also kind of a high in the last few years?
I'm not sure how many we've had in the past. It did go up 4 in the last month.
it does seem like
seem-
more.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah.
it does. I was looking to see if I had from last year, but I don't.
Excuse me, I happen to have it here.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We had 14 this time last year.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it seems,
So that's-
yeah.
I happened to look at
That's
it, so
part of
I had made a note of it.
Catastrophic claims.
Mm-hmm. And that's, of course, people who are reaching the $75,000 limit.
Right.
We aren't covered until they're over 150, but we start to track them at 75.
Well, do you know what the
So there's 9.
1.5.
Out of that 22, there,
number was? 6 last year,
Yeah.
9 this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
so,
that's unfortunate.
I guess I have a comment about those ISL payments. Seems like the bills come right away, but the checks take a long time.
well, we didn't pay them for the first 3 months, as you can see, so.
It evens out, right?
So anyway, hopefully that's helpful to you.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, 2.89. We're trying to have some sort of a gauge to the
Right,
3-month
so that's right,
number,
yeah.
so that's good to know. Okay,
But it's really that receivable number that was really the key.
right. Okay. Anything else on medical or backtracking, anything else regarding the town? Okay. Let's see if if I get this right now.
Oh, I had one.
Okay.
Prescription
Oh,
rebate.
perfect.
Is that coming in still, or we haven't
They
received
come in
everything?
regularly.
Okay.
Yes. We haven't received as much as we had anticipated, but they do come in regularly.
Okay. Nothing further. I'll entertain a motion to approve the report of expenditures in February 2025 for town government in the amount of $3,941,706.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions, recusals? Great, thank you. Okay, item number
Up
7.
here for those. That's right.
Yeah, I don't think so. Item number 7 is, I'm just trying to clear my screen here so I could actually read it correctly. Consider and take possible action on bond resolutions for consideration at the April 8th, 2025 referendum. I believe after our budget hearing and workshop, we're familiar with the bond resolutions. Does anybody have any questions regarding the resolutions as presented, as written? Like I said, I think we're pretty familiar with them. Otherwise, I'll just, I could probably go right into requesting the, of course, if I can get to it, make sure I get the numbers right. And there will be 2 of them, of course. So I'll go into entertaining motions. The first one would be to recommend to the voters a resolution to appropriate a bond authorization of $1,923,916 for improvements and upgrades to various school facilities and future project design costs for various town schools.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Otherwise, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Is that opposed?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, oops. Again, I hit the wrong thing here. Okay, the other motion that I'll entertain is to recommend to the voters a resolution to appropriate a bond authorization of $2,353,318 for the replacement of town vehicles and improvements to town roads and facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Amy, we got your vote, right? I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sure Tracy's staring right at the screen, so I keep forgetting to look up. Bad habit. Okay. Item number 8, discuss and take possible action on the appointment of the auditor for the fiscal year ending 2025. We have the report in front of us that is dated March 17th. I don't know if a member of that subcommittee, which was composed of Megan Scanlon, Jeff Beatty, and Bob Hartman, correct?
Yep.
And I believe you all met over the last week or so, and then finally had an interview, second interview with one of the candidates, and have made your recommendation. I don't want to take the floor away from you if one of you would like to discuss the recommendation, what it is in the report, so.
Sure. So we received 2 RFPs, one from CLA, who's our current firm providing the auditing services, and then from CBiz CPAs. And we decided to meet with both of them. We gathered some questions together, sent them out to them beforehand, and then met with them both the end of February. And then, or at the beginning of March, I should say, we made the decision to interview at the end of February. So we met with them, and their proposals were very similar in terms of scope of services and cost. And then following the meeting, we decided to get some further information about CBiz, and Mary Jane and Linda solicited information and commented on the responses that we got, and so we decided to invite CBIZ back in for a second interview, and we met with them just last week. And following that meeting, we discussed, the subcommittee met and discussed that we felt going with CBIZ would be an appropriate recommendation to the board. They're slightly less expensive over the aggregate number of years than CLA was, but the feedback that we got, and Mary Jane and Linda can chime in on this, the feedback that we got from the people who the other towns that we approached was very positive. And we felt that that was encouraging, and that we felt that we'd had CLA for quite a number of years, and it might be a good time to make a change from doing that, if only to get a fresh set of eyes on the town's books and practices. So.
One thing that came up to ease the transition is that these companies tend to work together. So Markham, or actually CBIZ, will go to CLA and ask for all of our records. So Mary Jane and Linda won't have to start over, which we found to be very comforting.
That's good to hear. Regarding the, first of all, where is CBIZ based out of?
They are based out of Providence, actually.
Okay.
But they have an office in New Haven and Hartford.
Okay, so they have a presence, obviously, in Connecticut.
They do, trust me. We asked if they would be in Guilford.
Yeah.
They said they would be in Guilford.
I'm sure they would.
So, yeah. So in terms of them being on site, it's not an issue. They have team members that'll be dedicated to this account.
They seem keen to expand into Connecticut, so it seems like a priority.
About how many municipalities are they working with now in Connecticut? Approximately, just
7 or 8.
Hold on, yeah. They have Stafford, and I can pull up. Not a lot, but they had some comparable towns they put in there.
That's important.
How many years will we contract with CBIZ if they're our choice?
We put a 3-year.
3 years?
In the RFP, we put a 1 year with two
Renewals,
2 one-year renewals. This board has to approve that on an annual basis, but we do have pricing for 3 years.
Now, can we make a provision that says they can't raise those prices after we contract with them?
Well, you should have been at the interviews because that was part of the.
Will that be part of our contract this time?
Yeah, so
So I actually asked that of CLA first.
That must have been an interesting question. for
Well, it
CLA.
really wasn't, Jonathan. That was what was surprising.
They had no
didn't
idea.
seem to know what I was talking about. So,
How can we forget?
Which is not a good thing.
yeah, that wasn't great. So that was also, I think, maybe a contributing factor to us maybe wanting to look into CBIZ more. But we did ask them both, and they both said that the price that was in their proposal was the price that they would charge, so.
I know that those prices are not in here. Could you share what the numbers are for?
Yeah, I'm just pulling up there.
Yeah, I'd have to pull it up. I don't have it.
CBIZ for next year was 81,000,
Yeah.
and CLA was $83,200.
Yeah.
It wasn't really the price that
Right.
was the factor for us. And just to answer your question, so they have Plainfield, Stafford, Plymouth, Hamden, Franklin, Trumbull, in terms of Connecticut at the moment.
And I also have West
Enfield.
Hartford, that's the
Oh,
the
okay.
new one. That-
Yeah,
remember I
that's
got-
the new one,
that's the
yeah.
new one I
West
got.
Hartford is new, yep.
And Enfield also.
And Enfield, yes, is also new. Windsor Locks, they began in fiscal '24. In Enfield, they began in fiscal '24, and then Plymouth in fiscal '24.
I have to say that what I was most surprised about was from the references that I contacted. I spoke to them all on the phone, and 2 sent me subsequent emails afterwards and said, oh, I forgot to tell you this about CBiz, and everything was positive, but they actually took
So
the
they
time
forgot to tell you something good.
Yeah, they actually took the
That's
time
nice.
to contact me again, so.
Right.
So this is like over the.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
that's their projection over.
Yeah. But it was very comparable to CLA, so that wasn't like
Right.
a
And
main.
if the pricing were reversed, I don't think we would have hesitated either over pricing. The other thing, of course, is that we talked to them about notifying us and working with us about GASB changes coming up. And they felt that, of course you do it, like, of course you do it properly. It was just something we ran into last year.
I think we also liked that they would test a few more things, like they would go a little bit deeper into the audit, CBiz, and test like specific accounts, which is something that we could use. We haven't really had with CLA for a while, and then they did have a bot.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this? This is
Well,
like
it's a
your
little
favorite thing.
thinking outside the box. I'm not absolutely certain that there's any great differential benefit.
Oh, do tell.
But they've developed a bot that goes to the GIS system, and it inventories all of the taxable properties and sees whether or not we're hitting them correctly. As I said, it's not apparent that we have an issue there. We don't know if there's a differential benefit, but it's nice to have that extra tool. And they're talking about other things in the hopper that might come forward. But it just shows to me that they had the difference for me between the two of them was that Marcus at CBiz had more of an academic interest in what they do. They seem to like what they did, and they like to pursue things. They look a little deeper into it and test us. And that's would you agree on it? It seemed that way.
Yeah.
So I don't think we hesitated, really. Well, although we did talk to Linda and Mary Jane to ask if they're comfortable with you're changing horses and, what comes with that.
But the fact that they work together and
Yep.
will share the information
Yep.
does make it easier.
Yeah.
We should make this transition a little less painful.
Now, given past experience, though, there's language in the contract for these kind of contingencies if there's an interim contract increase.
I mean, we were really clear, you guys can tell me if I wasn't,
No,
but I
I were.
clearly asked if this was the price we would be charged and that there would be no surprises, and they both said there would be no surprises.
And my recollection from one of the references was that
I did.
there was an occasion where additional work was required from CBiz, not because of anything that CBiz had done, but they did the extra work and then didn't invoice them
Right.
for the extra time, even though it was slightly outside of their scope of services that they provided. So,
I think it would be prudent to put those contingencies in the contract, personally.
Yeah, I mean, we can.
right. But as I think was said earlier, we had them in there before.
Yeah, we had them in there before. There was a lot of discussion about scope, and it is true that if there are some other things that we'd like outside the contracted scope, that they charge us, but, that's open to negotiation.
Yeah.
So it seemed very clear, it seemed transparent.
Yeah, they see, and I liked actually CBiz, even their proposal was more transparent. They had like references already in there that you could contact, which I thought was good too.
And they knew we had a transfer station.
They did.
Yeah.
And a marina.
And a marina.
Mr. Chairman?
They did their research. Yeah. Yes.
Are you contemplating a series of 3 one-year agreements that you decide on every year? That's typically what we've done. We've asked for a quote for multiple years, and then we have entered into a contract that is renewable on an annualized basis.
I think it provides the most
The
amount.
challenge has primarily come when they decide to do price increases inside the window that you can effectively go back out to bid. So if you're going to put something in it, to Jonathan's point, it would be if there are going to be any changes to price increases, it has to be before January 1st or something like that, which then gives you time to go back out for RFP.
Right. I think,
We did also ask, about staffing, and they all felt very comfortable with their staffing levels. too.
Seemed surprised at the question.
Yeah.
To be fair, until CLA had that staffing issue and came back for additional pricing, I have never seen any company come back, even CLA or any of the iterations of the people that are there. I think it was an anomaly even for them. The timing was bad, but I don't foresee that really being an ongoing occurrence.
The timing was bad and the communication was worse.
True.
Yeah, and then they didn't know about it in the
Yeah, so-
interview,
Yeah, then there's that.
which was tough.
Well, listen, the first thing I want to do is thank all three of you for taking the time out to be on the subcommittee and look at this. It's obviously been something we've been talking about for quite a while as far as whether to change horses or, move on. And I think regardless of the cost, I think you're spot on in the report that, even though the fee might be a little bit less, having a change, and as long as we know there's not a big hardship to start over, that's a big worry, I think, for us and for the two finance departments. So I mean, you did a lot of work on this investigation and did the interview, so I don't have any qualms at all about going with CBIZ. Amy, do you have anything that want to be fair and look up and make sure that I look at the screen and see if you have anything that you'd like to add to the discussion?
All my questions were answered, but I do like the idea of trying something new, and it seems like it's a good option. So.
And I think the 3-year and then having, Matt, as you had mentioned, having I guess you were saying a contract for each year or something like that,
Yeah, always renew them.
Renew, yeah, right, that's what I meant.
Which gives you the authority to not appoint the one that had won the bid.
Right.
CBIZ's proposal was for 1 year with town option to extend for more terms, so.
You can't obligate yourself for more than 1 year anyway, but
Right.
state statute.
Yeah, I mean, I have no issue with it. I have a strange feeling that Veronica probably won't either.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance? Did you have a chance to talk to her colleague at all?
No,
okay.
but I know
didn't
she
know if
will
you
be
did.
proud. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish she could have been here to participate in the vote.
She will be very much in favor of this. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have anything to add? Otherwise, I will state the following. Per the report of the Audit Subcommittee dated March 17th, 2025, I'll entertain a motion to recommend the appointment of CBIZ CPAs as the Town of Guilford Auditor for fiscal year ending in 2025.
It shouldn't be the committee.
Yeah.
So moved.
Well,
Thank you.
per the report. Yeah, yeah, oh, right, oh, okay, yes, it should, yeah, it'd be, yeah. Thank you, Amy. I'll second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstention. Okay, thank you. Again, Jeff, Megan, Bob, thank you very much for your time on this.
Happy to do it.
Really appreciate it. Okay, item number 9, committee reports. Any committee reports? Anything on building permits? I didn't even look at that one, but I did now. Okay. Old business. New business. Actually, I did have old business. I don't know if it's old business or new business, but it all has to do with the annual budget meeting coming up, so I guess it's old business for us. Just a reminder for the public, the annual budget meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 1st, in person at 7:30 PM at the Guilford High School Auditorium. I believe it's still in the auditorium, right? Unless there's a big turnout, and then I'll go to the gym like the town. But I don't think so either, but it's at Guilford High School regardless, so. And the annual budget referendum will be held on Tuesday, April 8th, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at all polling locations. And that is all I have for either old business or new business. Yes, please.
As it relates to the annual budget meeting.
Yes.
At this morning's meeting, the Board of Selectmen, consistent with what we did with the second annual budget meeting last year, we included in the call of the meeting, which means that's the way we have to conduct it, is that we will have an hour's worth of debate before anyone can call the question to reduce, all right? Assuming there's a motion on the floor to reduce, there will be at least an hour's worth of debate or discussion, or until such time as everyone who is in line has an opportunity to speak, provided that person has not already spoken. So that's the methodology we used for the second annual budget meeting last year. And
Okay, so this is
last
consistent.
year was 45 minutes. There were
Right.
members on the Board of Selectmen this morning who wanted to extend it beyond the 45 minutes.
Great. Thank you for the clarification. Okay. Anything further? Item number 12, public forum. Okay, see none. All right, there's still time to get a pint. I'll entertain that. All in favor?
St. Patrick's Day.
There you go, Jonathan, thank you.
Can I vote?
There you go. Thank you, everyone.
One.
Thank you, Amy.